High global acceleration. I'm going to give a moment for people to jump on, but I'd like to introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. So, I'm Pamela Strum, and I have a couple of modalities: grid, light healing, and light years, in addition to doing energy work with people, sometimes in the Akashic record realm. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist. I've been doing energy work for a long, long time. So today's subject, thank you, Catherine Musil, for giving me the chance to talk about this, is something that has come through in a way that I wish to share with you because the energy is so amazingly intense. We're between eclipses. We're going toward the solar eclipse, having gone through a lunar eclipse. And the energy is absolutely palpable, awakening us. And because of the work I do, where sacred geometry becomes prominent, and I've been exposed to researchers catching on. I don't mean catching on, but sometimes you pick things up in an energetic realm before it comes into a physical form, right? Things exist energetically before they come into certainly a third dimension. That I wish to share this with you with the intention for those of you who wish to receive this information to have some aspect of waking you up to and dropping in potentially codes which is happening for us, to bring to your awareness that you are already designed to perfection, and you are an infinite being. And you might have heard me, for those of you who have heard me speak before, talk about the fact that we have superpowers, and to really it's the now time to embody our superpowers and bring it into our existence. And we're meant to live from this incredibly empowered state. We're designed to live to our full expression as divine sovereign beings. And my way of sharing this with you is to tap into sacred geometry. Now, sacred geometry, for the first time I heard about sacred geometry, because we were taught geometry in school from a third dimensional perspective. Sacred geometry, I really wasn't interested in it because I associated it with school, the way it's taught in school. But sacred geometry I heard about first as architects use it and designers use it as the building blocks to give things form, their objects form. And what happened energetically, maybe in a higher dimension than a third dimension, when I started to work with sacred geometry, is that it came through as the shapes that created healing, where we are all designed. It's the designing building blocks of the entire universe, and that includes us. And certainly it includes nature that we have on Earth. All right, so here we go to some of the real juicy bits that have been coming through. So sacred geometry, in addition to giving things form, creating form, building blocks of creation in the universe, also affects the energy of the universe. So when you give something form and you put it into a sacred geometrical structure, it affects the energy. And in sharing this with you, hopefully you know that you yourself, as an infinite divine being, you have the power to use sacred geometry to your advantage. And you might not be aware that you already are using sacred geometry. So hopefully this will allow you to tap into that even further and awaken within you codes of symbols and further your power to be the creator of your life within the universe, of even creating your universe. So, one of the very powerful sacred geometrical shapes is the pyramid. And maybe you know it in geometry as a triangle. And some of you, I know, use a pyramid to protect your energy. Maybe you sit within a pyramid. In one of my modalities, grid light healing, I use the Merkabah, and I'm saying this on purpose. I really wish to keep this so simple, but I have more and more. I'm taking something simple because it builds into revealing to you your infinite nature of perfection in your design. So the Merkabah, if I had an upward facing triangle and a downward facing triangle overlaying it, so here's this structure of a pyramid and overlaying it was another pyramid, is the Merkabah. So the upward facing triangle is often referred to as the divine masculine, spiraling in one direction, and in the opposite direction is spiraling. They're actually spiraling the same way. It's actually a different. You switched your perspective, but is spiraling the divine feminine. But it's in unity in the Merkabah. In our heart, I say this. I seem like I'm going. I'm layering in the information, but I promise I'm bringing it back to the pyramid. Within our hearts, I've experienced initially the Merkabah over the heart of complete protection. However, our hearts are already unified, divine masculine and feminine. They're not separate. We are the divine balance within our heart space, the divine feminine and the masculine, the yin within the yang. We're perfect. We're unified. The Merkabah has also, in addition to being this incredible structure of protection and use of energy, allows, ancient cultures used it for time travel. I'll reference back to that why. But let's go back to the pyramid, the simple structure of the pyramid. So in the work that I do, oh, Nicole, you're here, and Amanda, hello. I'm so happy to have you with me. In the structure of the pyramid, particularly in grid light healing, this shape is more like the Pyramid of Giza. It's a little bit of a wider structure. In grid light healing, the pyramid is more pointed. It goes taller, if you will. And the base can be very wide, but the wider the base, the taller and more narrow appears the point. So stick with me. I wish to explain to you in geometry the sacredness of the importance of this structure that exists within you, to allow you to sink in and absorb your infinity and your perfection. In a more pointed pyramid shape, it's like the Russian pyramids. I was listening to Charles Zeiss share his research of the Russian pyramids, where they are discovering, these scientists in Russia, their most advanced scientists who have been doing work on these pyramids, are discovering now the exact meaning of what those pyramids do. The pyramids, I say discovering because the reality is this is ancient knowledge and wisdom. Not only does this shape exist in ancient cultures, remnants of ancient cultures, but it exists in nature. So it's there already. The point of this pyramid is phi, and phi is an infinite number. It goes on in infinity. But the in geometry, they usually cut it off after like the third decimal. But it's an infinite number. The angle on its own is infinite. So when you take this pyramid structure and the point goes on into infinity, sacred geometrical shapes exist within sacred geometrical shapes at times to increase their energy or to create different forms. Sacred geometry is never static the way it is in the third dimension. It moves, it morphs, shapes morph within each other. So within this pyramid shape are spheres, with the widest sphere maybe being at what we would consider the bottom of the pyramid and going upward, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The beauty of the shape of this Russian pyramid that I have naturally worked with within grid light healing is that the spheres get smaller in exact proportion to each other. So they appear from this larger state at the base, going to this smaller, 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 into infinity in exact proportion. Why does this excite me so much? Why do I geek out on this information when I hear it? Because it's happened organically within the healing and it's part of our infinite nature. How? What am I even talking about? Because we're working with the sacred geometry in maybe what would be like a fifth dimension and above, actually a bit of a fourth dimension, but a fifth dimension and above, as the pyramid itself is in motion, so too are these spheres stacking on each other. And these stacking spheres, as they rotate, create torsion, a twisting of the energy, if you will. And we know in nature, there's rarely a straight line. It's twisting, sine, cosine in school, right? How about our DNA? Our DNA structure has absolute torsion. It twists and twists and twists. This shape of the energy, so what does sacred geometry do? It gives form to energy. So what's happening to the energy within the pyramid is that it moves, it starts to turn within the spheres. Spheres represent creation consciousness, creation, the source of all that is. There is no beginning, there's no end. It simply is in perfection, connected, always. So these perfections of creation start to spiral, creating this torsion of our structure going on in infinity. When I first received our structure as a Merkabah, I heard that the Merkabah exists within us, within every cell of our body. What else exists within every cell of our body is our DNA, this spiraling, this torsion. This excites me. Why? Because within our overlay, within the concept of layering over our structure of a human body, this energy of ours goes from our energy field as far out as we wish it to go, and it's within our human structure. Within our human structure, because let's face it, we've decided to take our energy and put it in a human body. It's here on earth. As this energy heals and corrects itself and resumes its forms of intended creation, we get to inhabit in our human bodies our infinity, our infinite nature of creation. It is our design to be perfectly within our creative powers. The word perfect, people avoid the word perfect because what is perfection? It is not a third dimensional definition. It is certainly not what magazines tell us, or the television tells us, or movies or shows, or even sometimes music tells us. Perfection is for us to authentically inhabit to the fullest of our expression, our design, that was created and intended. So here I go, a bit more. Nicole, oh, that's awesome. Fibonacci sequence. Okay, Nicole, you're jumping to what I'm about to talk about even more and more and more. Yes, the Fibonacci sequence. Well, maybe some of you are saying, what's the Fibonacci sequence? The Fibonacci sequence, also part of our design, is a number of infinity. It goes on in infinity, and it has to do with proportion. Anyone who's a designer knows of the Fibonacci sequence because our innate design, really, our eye, like within us, we recognize proportion, a proportion that's authentic to us. And designers will tell you, designers who actually sell their products, they honor the Fibonacci sequence because people are more likely to buy a product that honors the Fibonacci sequence. We are programmed to recognize the proportion that exists within us. So let me bring more of your design of perfection and infinity into your awareness. My hands are really active and buzzing for all of you. So I send this, whether you're watching this at a different time, if you're watching the replay, that you may receive all this information and all this healing for your highest and best good, to integrate for your highest and best good in your own awakening of you as a unique being of creation, of source energy. Within grid light healing, some of you have seen me hold up the toroidal field. The toroidal field in the work that I do is the energy field we inhabit that includes our physical structure, our existence, as if we are within the center of this spiraling of infinite energy that goes out with our mental body, our energetic body, our etheric body, our astral body, our entire energy field. Guess what this man, Charles Zeiss, whose research I followed, and I went to his links, and I went to the, what some of the Russian scientists are saying, and what has been said about other pyramids around the world. And then, I went off doing this research. When the pyramid, with these stacking spheres spiraling and moving, creating this torsion of energy that is a reflection of infinity, when it comes, this energy goes out the top of the point of the pyramid, which you can only say goes out if you're bringing it from being an infinite structure, because infinity, it goes on forever. So if you bring it to a structure of creation and that energy goes out and comes back around, what scientists have discovered is that it creates a torus, a toroidal field. That's what this is. It's your toroidal field that is a part of the energy work I've been doing, which is why I was so excited. I'm like, finally, science can help me give language to what is experienced, that is already witnessed for those of you who work with your energy, that you're an infinite being. Because what's the looping of the toroidal energy? What's this sacred geometry doing? It's looping in infinity. It's an infinite loop. So there's this repetition of infinity in our design. There is this pyramid, which I'll get to the Merkabah. There's this pyramid that is at an angle that I've experienced, of an infinite angle, creating an infinite stream of torsion that gets looped out into a toroidal grid. That's our energy field, our infinite energy field. Isn't this brilliant? Like, we're so brilliant. We're amazing and awesome. Back to the toroidal grid. And Nicole, to what you were saying, the Fibonacci sequence. So, the Fibonacci sequence, a lot of us experience it as the spiral. The spiral is a part of the Fibonacci sequence. Spiral, torsion, infinity. So you're getting it, right? Every single way we look at our sacred geometry, it keeps telling us we're infinite beings. We're infinite, we're infinite, we're infinite. Our energy is infinite. It is not destroyed ever. It exists in infinity. Okay? So in our infinity of our energy, it has to do with proportion. So what I have said in grid light healing, now I'm going to just allude to something. Why, if we're created as these beautiful infinite beings that have all of this energy, this source energy, this creation energy, we have superpowers awakening within us. Why do so many of us not know this? Why have we forgotten it? Why do we come as these expansive energies beyond our imaginations to put ourselves in a body that's confined? Well, many of us have chosen to be here at a time of awakening on this planet and in the universe. This awakening's happening beyond Earth. So in our awakening process, we start to remember who we are and we start to heal who we are. Now, there have been influences put upon us, and that's not what this talk is about, but I will allude to there have been influences on us. This is where I'm getting to talk. Remember in the title I talked about the golden matrix. There have been trapping mechanisms to stop us from experiencing ourselves as these source beings of infinite nature who have the power and potential through and the tools of sacred geometry to create our universe how we wish to experience it, whatever we wish it to be. And one of the areas I've discovered we've been reduced or stopped, or where we've bought into a limitation, is the messing of the Fibonacci sequence. So because we are expressing ourselves as human beings, if the energy isn't able to come through to us through our toroidal field, if it isn't able to loop back around and create that infinite loop, then we are not accessing the infinite energy. Because remember, a sacred geometrical shape produces form, but it also affects the energy. So we're not experiencing that energy. And in the vertical, the power stream of our toroidal field into the Fibonacci sequence for our perfect processing, that is for our highest and best good, for our formational structure, is source energy streaming in and looping around in our infinity, and Gaia's energy coming in, looping around in our infinity. If our structure is restored. Now, you don't have to do grid light healing. I'm here to tell you that, to restore your structure. You can, out your own awareness, you are your own healer, and through your own command of your healing, bring it into your reality and you heal your energy. Because in the sacred geometrical structure, so I explained to you the pyramid, I explained to you the spheres, I explained to you the torsion of energy. I let you know that it's been manipulated. So even within but it's healing, it's restoring, we're being supported. What's that winding torsion shape? Is that like a snake, maybe? Has that been hijacked? Have we been taught to be afraid of that shape? But that shape is nature reminding us of torsion, of sine and cosine, of movement, of energy. So let's reclaim these sacred symbols. Let's reclaim these sacred shapes. Let's own it. Let's heal it to reclaim our infinity and our superpowers. So here I go, talking a little bit about the matrix. Okay, the matrix. What's the matrix? Well, the matrix, I believe in its intention, was really for our highest and best good. It's an energy field. And originally I experienced the matrix as almost like a cheesecloth, like plasmic light. When this energy that's supporting us is streaming in now through the universe, coming in to our energy field, this overlay of energy that's getting spiraled infinitely within our toroidal field, that energy that fills the space. Watch this space. There's the form, there's the motion of energy. Watch the space. Because within that space is light, and light's coming in, and it's almost like neutrinos are coming in, because even if I bring in golden light to come in, there's always these other flashes of light, these neutrinos of light to activate us, our codes. So we're being bombarded with light. We have this structure. We're healing our structures. As we heal, it comes into our awareness. We realize that our energy grid, our toroidal field, connects into the grid of Gaia, the higher dimensional grid expression of Earth. It connects into the grid of the universe, and it connects into the grid of all sentient beings. You can simply imagine, with all these lines of energy, the potential as we cross over each other within our energy lines and within our energy field. There's potential for distortion. Now, sometimes energy gets slowed down for our experience, like we did with ourselves, coming as these divine beings to be in a body. We've slowed the energy down to have experiences with this notion of ourselves as being separate from source, which we never are. We are always connected. But because it's gotten so slowed down and distorted, maybe we've bought into notions of separation. And when we feel separate from our divinity and separate from the divinity of our experience with each other, that's further distortion that's been allowed to exist for thousands and thousands of years. Therefore, that beautiful spiraling and torsion that exists within our energy field and within our own DNA has absorbed constructs of distortion energy that is coming out to be healed. Because in addition to the movement of the energy and the sacred geometrical structures, guess what also affects the energy of our experience as creation beings in a human body is our consciousness. Our consciousness, what we think, what we feel, affects our sacred geometrical structures. Maybe we have bought into forgetting. Maybe we have bought into distortion. Maybe we have bought into, I don't know, or I'm not enough. Someone else needs to make these decisions for me. Someone else knows better than I do what is for my highest and best good. That's distorted energy. So these overlays have locked in to these denser notions that block us from experiencing ourselves as infinite divine source beings, where we've stepped out of our sovereignty and we've given it away, thinking someone's going to rescue us, someone knows more than we do. It's simply not true. It's a concept within the matrix to keep us small, to stop us from playing big, to stop us from accessing the fact that we have superpowers that are waking up in this now moment, because you know the now moment is the moment of miracles. It's the only moment that exists. So let me continue to share with you this awakening of our perfection, because the way to be perfect is to inhabit your authentic being, your authenticity. It's not artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is being used by the matrix for sure. And we can use artificial intelligence to help us, actually. But it's our authentic intelligence that keeps us sovereign to the matrix. So this overlay that I originally experienced as maybe a cheesecloth or a tapestry that is in constant motion. Because keep in mind, in a higher frequency, remember in a higher dimension, sacred geometry is in constant motion. I'm going to hold my hands up for you because they're really, really very active at the moment. May you receive any healing you wish to receive, any activations and any codes that are for your highest and best good. As you wish. If you wish to, just say it to yourself. I wish to receive the healing, and it's you who's doing the healing, okay? It's for your highest and best good. So, as we decide to slow energy down and to play, as we give our energy away, it stops the flow. And certainly in a third dimension, if we look at the matrix, it's linear. It crosses over each other. It forms a grid, like we see in school, columns. Horizontal columns, vertical columns. That's not how it goes in a higher dimension, but we lock into this notion. And when we lock in our consciousness, we stop experiencing ourselves in our infinity. In the work I've been doing in the matrix, sharing with you, you can go to my YouTube channel under Pamela Strum, and there are 3 videos. You can watch them. My YouTube channel is not monetized. You can just go ahead and watch them, where I talk about the matrix at length. But what I'm discovering more and more and more is as we allow ourselves to wake up and inhabit our design, our own authenticity, because every single solitary person is their unique expression. You have your own fingerprints. They're all unique. Every single snowflake is different from every other snowflakes as it was designed to be. Because as we are designed, perfection is inhabiting our authenticity. With all of our expressions of everything we've been, pull yourself fully back in to the healing that exists within you in your infinite nature. And you discover, I'm done playing with that duality. I'm done believing I'm separate. Mark it downloaded and complete. Dissolve that energy. Allow it to disintegrate and heal. And within the healing, it flows. It flows, it flows. And if it's your energy, it flows within you in its healing. If that energy is something you've hooked into, latched onto, if it's some distortion from something, someone else's energy, send it back to them, because that creates space for them to heal as well. So, yes, Nicole, these columns or cheesecloth reminds of the quantum field in Interstellar when he is traveling time. And it is that. So I love that you are like, you're right with me. You're like, yes, so let's talk about time. Because time is also this aspect as I finish with talking about the Golden Matrix. Okay? I promise. Keeping it brief today, or my version of brief. All right. So here this is. Our energy field is flowing. We have agreed, because we've agreed to experience ourselves in bodies as separate from Source. But remind yourself, you're connected, you're an expression of Source. This is how we begin to heal. I'm a Source being. Woo! I'm sovereign. Woo! But I wish to enjoy your uniqueness. I wish to enjoy your gifts, what you have to offer, what you're creating in your universe. And that's a very light, lit up matrix where we share. Yet there's flow. There's flow in this higher dimensional energy. At no point do we lock each other, hook each other, drag each other down, create density. In the higher expression, there's flow, and we share and we unify with each other in the experience. That's the Golden Matrix. So simple. That's the Golden Matrix. It's not saying that if we've decided to not have, and I'd like to use a different word, because matrix, just like the snake, just like the black widow, has been hijacked, just like so many symbols of incredible power have been hijacked. So we stay away from it. We stay away from these things because we associate them with something horrible. I'm going to give you an example that just immediately touches people. And I said it to someone the other day. The swastika is an ancient symbol of enormous power. Who's willing these days to use a swastika? You wouldn't. I've been using a lightning bolt. It's been so powerful to me. I was using a lightning bolt, and then I watched the movie Jojo Rabbit, and the lightning bolt was representative of Hitler Youth. And I said to myself, you know what? No. You stop. I'm reclaiming this symbol, bringing it back into healing, because sacred geometry restores things and infuses it with healing power of infinity, of source energy, of flow. And I'm reclaiming it, and I will use that power symbol until throughout the matrix, where everywhere it has existed in some dense expression of nefarious energy, of those doing things to hurt another being, heals and ripples out and loosens out. I only have my divine will, my consciousness, my own Pamela power, as you have yours. And I choose to heal my life. And by choosing to heal my life and inhabit my full expression, it loosens my grid from everywhere I have stuck and glommed on to every single solitary grid, from every other sentient being, from Gaia's grid. It allows Gaia to infuse with light and heal. And it allows it to heal from the universe. So in healing myself, I heal every other dynamic in which I have participated. And because my DNA is a part of it, I heal my entire ancestral line. Like, joyously, our ancestors are like clapping us on with all this healing work we're doing, releasing it from my ancestral line, from my progeny, from the universe, from Gaia, from everyone else. And I ask for forgiveness in anywhere I have caused suffering, because within the golden matrix, you know you're out of integrity or alignment if what you're doing creates density for another where they're not within their power, their will. The one thing that source energy has agreed to, well, there's more than one, within our existence as humans of perceiving us as separate from source, is that we get to have our own free will. We get to actually, do you realize what that means? We're source. But when we use our will to anchor someone else and drag them down and take away their expression of source, their free will, and we manipulate their consciousness, that keeps people trapped in the matrix. The matrix, the golden matrix, is where we experience ourselves even in unity with others, unity consciousness, as if we're separate from source. Because if we were out of the matrix, we'd return to source. We're done. We've decided to unite back to source energy completely. But we heal these spaces, we create space, we fill this with our heart light, which is already an expression of unity energy. It's not separated. It's the perfect balance of the yin and yang, the feminine and the masculine. It's the perfect balance. It exists within us. So shining our heart light to heal and fill these places where maybe there seems to be a gap because we've allowed the density to disintegrate. So when I've been working with people, and I've been working with, particularly when I'm working with light years, which is sort of returning us to our complete power potential of our source consciousness, using sacred geometry, and using our capacity to create our universe inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves, where we have this reach of energy. Nicole, I'm getting to time traveling, I promise. This is where I'm going to give you a hint with this. The shape is like the Milky Way. The shape is like the Black Widow, the spider. It's not an accident that the World Wide Web was called a web. It's part of the manipulation and the distortion. So we take ourselves off the web and we associate the web and the dark web, where these things go on, where people are doing things that are hurting other beings and trapping them from, trapping their source energy, their sovereignty, taking it away from them. They use the word web. So we can't use the word web, but the reality is, in healing it, let's reclaim these symbols, because the web is like the cheesecloth, is like the tapestry. It's that overlay where we create as source beings, and we might not want to create. We simply might wish to be human beings, be and observe and witness. Okay, what happens with time traveling that can heal things like bloop, bloop, just like that? All time gets healed as we expand our energy and as we reclaim our sacred geometry in the infinity of our design. Here's our toroidal field. In grid light healing, and I've talked about this, you've heard other energy workers talk about this, within grid light healing, there's a Merkabah. There's many Merkabahs. As I said, I've discovered a Merkabah within every cell of the human body, but this overlay of a Merkabah. And the Merkabah in the pyramid, the upward facing pyramid, has that phi infinity, and the downward has phi infinity. Imagine both of those pyramids, what we consider upward and downward, filled with spheres of perfect proportion for us to bring into our form and existence, spiraling the energy in torsion, creating the perfect torsion of sine and cosine, creating the snake. Let's reclaim these things, creating infinite energy potential and sending that in our toroidal field. What happens? Sacred geometry spirals, it's in constant motion. What happens to the Merkabah as it spirals? Ancient cultures traveled using the Merkabah. So you imagine the Merkabah, you imagine the spiraling. Where do you wish to travel? Because time in a third dimension is linear, time in a fourth dimension is not linear. Time moves, it moves. So in your infinite nature, in your Merkabah structure spiraling, creates this power of energy that's so intense. It not only goes, quote, up and down, creating our toroidal field, it shoots what would be in an outward motion on a horizontal plane. Now, if time is looping and we travel in our infinite power structure on a horizontal plane, if you will, we access the looping of time. We can access all time. We can collapse timelines. We can fold timelines. We can jump timelines and experience, because all of time exists in the now moment. And this notion makes me go like, wah! It makes my brain just almost short wire. However, come into your sacred geometry, claim your infinite nature, own all parts of yourself, call back those parts of yourself that you might have disowned because you've been having third dimensional experience of duality. Own it. That's how you heal it. You're designed to instantly heal. Bring it into your design, bring it into your infinite nature, and you access the time. Maybe the time you wish to access is a time in the past where you now, in your expanded consciousness, cringe and go, ooh, I wish I did that differently. Okay, well, it got you here. Thank the experience. Forgive yourself, forgive everyone else who played the game with you so you could have an experience, and discreate it. Create it anew because you can, because you're designed to do it. Maybe you wish to jump to a future timeline to find out how awesome you are in the future. What are my superpowers? What am I up to? Get into your sacred geometry, open yourself up. Now, this takes practice. Healing happens like this. The more you practice, the more you realize and inhabit your design and your authenticity, the faster you heal, the more this information comes in, because the whole universe is healing and it's bringing us all this information for our integration. I will remind you, sometimes, we can create timelines. That is true, or future timelines, because we're creating our experiences. So I'm going to, once again, Nicole, I'm going to round to that with talking about our infinite nature and the golden matrix. So everyone, right off the bat, real fast, what to do. Be in gratitude for everything. Those experiences that you have put on a negative label that you're like, that was horrible. Oh my God, that was so painful. You survived. Thank it. Bring it back in, because the universe isn't judging it. It's simply giving you experiences as a human. Stepping out of the duality, stepping out of the contrast into this higher expression where we unify and we support each other in our awakening. We support each other in our divine natures. We support our unique sovereignty. That's the overlay of the golden matrix. And in creating timelines, sometimes I like to recreate timelines of something where I go, oh, Pamela, maybe you could have done that in a way where other people didn't get hurt. And I go but maybe hurting is part of their awakening, right? So no judgment, forgiving ourselves, but that means forgiving anyone where you've felt hurt, yeah? So in recreating those timelines, I recreate a potential for my idea of playing that out. I create forgiveness, but we unhook from each other to do that. That's part of the third dimensional matrix. So in gratitude and blessing everything and being grateful for everything, it creates light. It releases like forgiveness. Please, 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 everyone. I have children and they watch shows that are created such distortion, such turning the world upside down into confusion, where they create, let's say, these superhero shows and people have superpowers. I've talked about this, but in these superhero shows, they're always fighting. There's always fear. There's always anger. There's always battling. And I'm like, they're taking our strength and our power that is known coming through at this now moment on the planet, and they're distorting it because people think that their superpowers have to do with hurting and battling each other, as opposed to inhabiting your utmost potential, where you have the potential to do absolutely everything you can imagine. So really, it's the now moment to imagine the world in its utmost bliss and avoid the seduction of what's happening next. What is it? What are they up to? Has this been released? Has this been revealed? Do we know about this yet? And you're giving your energy and your consciousness, which affects what you create, which affects the sacred geometry, which affects the energy. You're giving it to the density. You're giving it to the lockdown. You're giving your sovereignty and power away. But as you take your consciousness and focus and go, wait a minute here. I am minute time. I am infinite. I am source energy. Thank you, Source, for allowing myself to experience my consciousness of creation as a source being on Earth, because not every being gets to do that, which is why we're so amazing on this planet, which is why so much of the universe and other beings focus on us. We have so much power. Yes, we do. So I think it's time for me to stop. I want to leave you with this idea of us. Hi, Lois Harrison. Yes, and Lois, speaking of sacred geometry, is a sound goddess working with sound healing. So sacred geometry can express a sound, right? It is energy. So as we use our vocal cords, as we use sound, as we use colors, as we use directions, it's how, as we use sacred geometry, it's what it is doing with the energy. So, matrix trapping us, getting us to feel fear. Anytime you feel fear, anytime you're locking into that you are anything other than a divine sovereign being who has an infinite potential of creation, where the universe is supporting you to unlock and discover and inhabit your infinite potential of superpowers. That's an old paradigm. Anywhere you go ahead, because I know I do this, but you do things out of a sense of obligation without questioning it. You're buying into old paradigms of a different era, a different timeline that has trapped us and locked us. Anywhere you put someone else above and someone else below, anywhere you put yourself below, get out of that. It's not. We're all equal, infinite beings. So catching yourself, catching where you still contribute to this old paradigm. And as you inhabit more of your unique authenticity, however you choose to express it, the golden matrix comes into being. And maybe, on a certain timeline, we'll all choose to dissolve the matrix altogether and blend back into that cheesecloth, blend back into, if you see this structure all over the place with our toroidal grid revealing the spiral, revealing the Fibonacci sequence of infinity, keeping in mind this is all infinite, it becomes like the flower of life as it echoes out. And we return to source. Then we're back with source. The only purpose of the matrix is to have experiences as if we're separate from source. And as we honor each other's free will, with our expression of source in unity consciousness, which is for all of our highest and best good, that's what creates the golden matrix and can potentially immediately heal all density. Now I'm going to say one thing in closing. There's nothing wrong. There are going to be some beings who choose to stay in the third dimension. Maybe there are some new souls who are learning about Earth and they wish to have a slower timeline. I know I joke around with people saying, oh, forever I'm going to eat chocolate. I love chocolate. That's very third dimensional of me. And I know as a person with a business and as a mom, comes in very handy talking about time in a third dimension. So I work with a third dimension. But don't we all? But we don't have to stay there. Remember, we can choose to weave in and out. We're the weavers. We weave our webs. Let's reclaim that sacred geometry, that notion. So everyone, I hope that this has the potential to wake you up. Yes, I started a new round of grid light healing, which I was calling to do to work with this eclipse energy that's really like rapid fire, bringing up our muck for review and clearing it on out and helping us stream in our structures, our formation of our infinity and our divinity. So if you'd like to join Grid Light Healing, you may do that. I'll actually put a link for that in the group. Know that I have light years if you're used to working within your energy field and you're wishing to pop yourself immediately into your source creation. It is the now time that we're woken up. It's where I've discovered our soul print, our master strand DNA, if you will, our master plan, our source creation energy plan for our design, because I work with sacred geometry, so this is downloaded in for me. And I'd like you all to know who have done light years that it is actually awakening like now. So it's that light years because I heard it was a healing ahead of its time. But the time is actually the now time. So that's there. But know that you can wake yourself up. You can heal yourself. It's all within you. It's all within you. It has to do with, it's your choice, right? It's all your choice. So I love you all so much. I'm really excited to see what we all create, honoring each other. And please, for those of you who are watching the replay, that you receive this for your highest and best good, as powerful as it was. If you decided to join live, you're welcome, Nicole. Yes, and you are amazing as well. And Michelle, thank you so much. You're welcome, Michelle. Everyone. Yay with this time. We're doing it. We're here. We chose to be here. It can look messy. It can feel ugly as shadows come up, as the density comes up. But keep in your awareness, in your consciousness, it's to be cleared out. Because what is beyond the veil is bliss, is utopia. And we're building it. We're building it together. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Have an awesome weekend. You're welcome, Lois. You're welcome, Catherine. Bye, everybody.